first step is there's this telescoping rod at the back, and we want to pull it up to its full extension. It's really important that this is as high as it'll go. And what I recommend doing when you are threading a new serger for the first time and you're getting the hang of it is to have different colors of thread for each section. So this particular machine also has a color-coded system for all of the tension discs, so we're just using the same color, blue for the lower looper, green for the upper, etc. The other thing I find really helpful is that sometimes when you're reading your manual or you're working on something and you're trying to troubleshoot and it will say adjust the upper looper, lower looper, and I find it really easy to get confused. So we've gone and used our label maker to actually label this. So this is the lower, upper, right needle, and left needle. And we also added a number. So I know that I start with the upper looper at 1, then I do the lower looper, then I thread my right needle, and then I thread my left needle. So this is just a simple thing that you can do that makes operating this machine a lot easier because you're not having to go open your machine manual to figure out what is what. So I know I need to start with my upper. So I'm going to thread that one first. And this machine is really simple. It's literally just threading it through this circle, but you might have another configuration. Again, you want to get your manual out and check. And the first step is to slide the thread through this little metal clip here, and then just make sure that it's running smoothly and it's not caught. And I'm going to pass it through my thread disc. Now, you could just pass it through here, but then chances are the thread is not going to be properly seated because inside here there are 2 discs that touch and you want to get the thread in between. And so what we have to do on the Brother is release these thread discs so they open up. So I'm going to press that button. I'm going to slide that thread through and make sure now that I've released that this is thread properly through those discs, and I can feel it, that it's thread properly. Now, we still have a few of these threads left over from the last time that I thread this machine. So I'm just gonna pull those out and pull them through the machine so they're not here at all. And I should do that for my needle thread as well. And the nice thing about the Brother is that there's an illustration in here that really guides me through. So the first step is to loop it through this hook. And then we have a hook here and there's marks where on top in blue and green that tell me. So if I was doing the lower looper, I would go through both of these, but only this piece here has a little green dot. So I'm only going through that one. And then it's telling me to come back up here, loop it on that hook. And now I'm going to be threading the upper looper, which is right here. Okay, so I've got everything through here. And one thing I want to mention is that generally you want to thread your machine with your presser foot up, but in this case, it's kind of tricky to get into that hole. But I'm going to keep my presser foot down so I have a little bit more room. And then I'm just threading that hole. And this is where it really helps to have a pair of tweezers, because I'm just going to use the tweezers to grab the end of the thread and pull it to the back. So the upper looper is now threaded. We're now going to proceed to the lower looper. So just like before, I'm going to thread through this upper part here. I'm going to catch it on this little metal disc and make sure it's sliding smoothly. I'm going to release the thread discs and pull the thread down. And then just make sure it's properly seated within the thread discs. And then come down and follow the diagram. So here, both of these metal hooks have blue dots. So I'm going to thread this through both of them. And then I'm going to thread it through this one. And this is where it gets a little tricky with the Brother. So the lower looper is kind of hidden inside this machine. And I need to thread the thread through this hole. But first I need to release this. There's like a little lever here that I'm going to open all the way. And I'm going to take my blue thread. And on the end of that lever, there's even a little arrow pointing to where you need to go. I'm going to just catch my thread on the little hook, and I'm going to push the lever back. And now I kind of like to keep a little tension on that so it doesn't fall out. I'm now going to thread the lower looper. And I'm going to use my tweezers. You don't want it coming through on the right side. You want it to come through on the left side. So I'm just using my tweezers. I might even come in from behind to grab that thread. And I'm just using my fingers to make sure it doesn't get tangled on anything else. And I pull it to the back. My loopers are now threaded. So next up is the right needle. Same process as before. Catching it in that hook, releasing my lever, feeding it through the tension discs, pulling through, make sure everything works. And you can see on the face of the machine, there's some little arrows telling me where it needs to go. So it wants me to come across here, hook on this little hook here, come around, slide down. And again, depending on your machine, you might have a different thread system. So you may just have to kind of adjust your hand wheel so that you get your needle in the prime position. And once again, I just want to remind you that there's a screw here that I would loosen to add or remove these needles. But for the 4-thread mock safety stitch I want both of these needles in place. And so I'm going to now thread the right needle. And I'm going to use my tweezers to pull my thread through. And I always come back around and use my fingers to kind of pull it through. Here we go. And you just want to make sure it's nice and smooth and it's not getting caught on anything. And we're going to follow the same procedure for the left needle. And I'm going to move it over here, up and around, just following the same path. For the left side. So all 4 threads are now properly fed through the machine. And I'm going to raise my presser foot, pull them all underneath so they're underneath the foot, and I'm ready to start serging.